Man, I feel like I think it's he had coaches had a lot of success over his 30 years of coaching, and I think that he's had really good mentors. I think that he's had I think that over the years of him doing what he's done, he's built up a formula of figuring out, what's successful, what works, what doesn't work. And I think when you have that experience, I think that's one of the things that when people talk about in like the job world, like they tell us to go to college, but when you get out of the college, they're like, you need experience. Like experience is like something that you can't fabricate. And I think when you have that experience, it allows you to understand how best to how best to handle each situation that you get thrown at. I think that he's seen a little bit of everything over the course of his years of coaching. I think that with that being a thing, I think he understands what the expectations need to be for practice, what the expectations need to be for meetings and game prep, and how the game is supposed to transpire. And I think that when you have someone who does that and then translates, not so much translates, but expresses these things to the coaches that then pass that down to us, there's a clear, concise understanding of what the expectations are, and I think that allows us to be able to all move in the same direction.
Sometimes when a play comes in, when the play's called, and you hear the play call, you go, this one could be explosive.
Yeah.
Do your eyes light up, or are all plays coming in the same team?
I mean, you have some plays where you're like, hey, if this one hits, it's a bonus. Yeah. And then we have some plays where you kind of searching for that money look, from the defense, and you hear the play come in, and there are times where you line up and you're like, yeah, they gave us exactly what we kind of expect. And there are times where you line up and you're like, dang, like this not the particular coverage that we were kind of hoping to get. But the beautiful thing about the way our offense is set up, like we get opportunities to kind of get ourselves into we might not get the money look, so if we don't get the money look, then we kind of get an opportunity to get to something else, or we don't show it, which is a beautiful thing. You kind of get to hold on to it, put it in your back pocket, and say there's going to be another chance in the game where we might get a chance to call this. And so there are some times where you hear a play come in, you're like, yeah, this should score, and then sometimes like we're like, hey, this is a play that's going to set up something later on in the game, and you kind of just got to roll with it.
How excited are you when you see Marvin Mims get in the end zone, and do you wish he maybe had a little more, explosive, offensive output this year like he had at times last year?
Nah, man, Marv's special. I've talked about Marv a lot since he's gotten here, and even this year, having Marv back there doing his thing. We missed him a couple games when he unfortunately got hurt. But the thing that Marv does when he's back there catching punts, it takes a special person to do that. And I tell the boys all the time, like, man, what Marv does back there at punt return, it's not too many people. What's up, Willie Wedges? It's not too many people who will, be willing to go back there and, sit in the face of a fire and, calmly assess the situation and go make a play. And, that play was so crazy because I'm sitting there. Obviously, we're waiting to go out in the field, and you see him kind of scrunched down, and you're like, please don't hit him, don't hit him. And then boom, he just pops out of nowhere, and Marv has this real deceivingly fast speed where it's from a distance, you'd be like, he's not running that fast. And then if you are on the field with him, he's covering ground. For not so much of a tall guy, he covers a lot of ground with his stride. And so to watch him do that, and then just the punt return team all executing that play. JL and PJ being back there to go, cover up the punter to let Marv get into the end zone, unscathed. It was a beautiful thing to be able to see, and I know he got some more in there for sure. He's had a couple big ones, big returns, so far this year, and I know that he got some more that he can break out.
You said a minute ago about if you don't get the money look, getting into something else. And it seems like over these last few weeks, we hear a lot in the locker room after guys' wins, different people saying we got into the right play, or a lot of the big plays led to starting with something else.
Yeah.
How much do you feel like between Bo and the offense that's grown this year of late?
I think that it's grown a lot. I think that the understanding of kind of the expectations of what to expect each week has been something that has allowed us to be able to, kind of catch a rhythm. And then also just, I think it takes time. We talk all the time, about where we feel like we are. We get asked from training camp to this point, where do you guys feel like you are? Where do you guys feel like you are? And, it's, from myself, I can say, it's always there's always room for improvement. And I still believe that. But however, I do think that, the more reps you get with your personnel, the more understanding that you get of the offense with what you have, I think it allows you to be able to play with a sense of confidence and urgency, in a sense that you kind of what you want to get to. What plays work best with the personnel that you have on the field. You guys know we do a lot of personnel swaps, and so there's certain personnels that are really good with certain plays, certain personnels are good with other plays, and I think that we do a really good job of maximizing the talent that we have on the field with our play calls, and I think that allows us to be able to ultimately have the success that we need to have, especially in critical moments of the game.
Court, you guys have high goals, or Packers have high goals. They're 2 seed in the NFC.
Correct.
What sort of opportunity is this for you guys to kind of play one of those championship type level games before you go into the playoffs, just in terms of the caliber of teams that you guys are?
Yeah, I mean, shoes. I feel like, each week you kind of got to take the mindset of, each week is a playoff game in a sense. I don't think that there's, we talk about, I think past 3 weeks I've gotten a similar-ish question, and you can't overlook any team. Whatever team we're playing against that week is the most important team, and no matter what their record is, I think that that's something that a lot of people don't give credit to, and I've spoke at nauseum about. It doesn't matter if a team's 3 whatever or 9 whatever, you're gonna get their best shot. And yeah, obviously records play a part in how teams are portrayed in the media or whatever, but at the end of the day, you think you're dealing with, a group of guys that are very prideful and want to go out there and be successful, whether their record reflects it or not. And so to be able to go out and play against a team like the Packers, obviously them being on the other side of the conferences is different. It's going to be different, but they're a really good team, and they just came off of a really big win and at home against Chicago. That's another really good team, and so they're playing some really good football. And it's going to be on us to be able to have the mental and physical discipline to have a good week of prep this week, and go in and continue to build on what we've been doing, week in and week out so far. Not overlooking anybody, not making any game any bigger than the next. Each game and each week is equally as important, because it's the now game. And so I think that's the biggest thing that we have to understand, and that everybody needs to understand, is just, it's the most important game because it's the next game. And so we're going to be preparing ourselves to get ready to go play against this team, a really well-talented, well-coached team, and we're going to have a good game on Sunday.